The signal raced through interstellar corridors long before the first responding vessel ever reached the shattered border of the Varelli Alliance. Worlds that once shone with silver towers now floated in muted ruin, and the remnants of once proud fleets drifted as broken silhouettes against distant suns. The Varelli, a people known more for artistry than battle, had reached the end of every known option. Their appeals to neighboring empires were met with hesitant sympathy, but no armies. Their messages to the Council of Spheres earned formal condolences, but no reinforcements. Their final broadcast, carried on a trembling frequency that barely reached the relay network, was simple. It asked for help from any who could hear. Not a single Varelli expected the answer that came when the incoming fleet breached the star line and decelerated into the ruined sector. The sensors of the Varelli refugees captured only fragments. Stark hulls, harsh designs, opaque armor plating that devoured reflected light like a silent threat. The Varelli whispered among themselves, afraid to hope, but more afraid of what new conqueror might arrive. At first, they saw only motion. Ships shaping themselves into a formation unfamiliar to any known navy. Sleek but angular, aggressive but disciplined. Their engines burned hot with volatile intensity, a style that radiated purpose more than elegance. No symbology identified their origin, no diplomatic beacon. Only a single transmission that pierced the comnet with calm precision. A voice announced itself. Human. The Varelli did not know the species well. They had heard of Earth's gravity wells, its volatile continents, its seas that birthed storms larger than cities. They had heard the whispered term that other species used, Deathworlders, beings shaped by extremes, survivors made by ecosystems that offered no forgiveness. In galactic society, humans were regarded with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Most civilizations treated them with formal caution, as one might treat a dangerous tool that could build or break with equal ease. The refugees barely understood any of that. They only understood that help had come. Now they watched in a mix of awe and disbelief as the human fleet spread into a defensive arc. The lead vessel of the human formation bore no grand name, only a simple designation that translated roughly to vigil. Inside its command bridge stood a commander named Arden, a straightforward name, plain enough to fit the human custom of functional labels. Arden analyzed the data streaming in. Wrecked Varelli habitats, stations broken into drifting debris, signs of forced surrender, signals indicating that a hostile force remained in the sector, one known for brutality and territorial expansion. Arden's officers, each wearing hardened armor shaped for mobility rather than ornament, watched their consoles with unwavering focus. Human vessels were built less for beauty and more for endurance. Their hulls could bend under pressure without fracturing, a trait borrowed from Earth's own demands. Their shields drank energy in layered absorption. Their weapons were not the most elegant in the galaxy, but they were reliable across any condition. The Varelli observed all of this with a fearful curiosity. Their species valued harmony above conflict. Their culture emphasized negotiation. They had long believed that war was a failure of diplomacy. Now, with their colonies smoldering, they no longer knew what to believe. They saw the humans as unpredictable saviors, beings who approached with the expressionless calm of predators. Arden delivered a message to the Varelli flagship. The voice was steady and devoid of menace. It asked for a briefing. It requested tactical maps. It instructed the Varelli to relocate behind the human lines. The command carried a tone of practiced readiness, a tone that suggested this was not the first time humans faced an overwhelming threat. The Varelli soon understood why the enemy appeared moments later on the outer sensors. Ships built for domination, each a jagged fortress. Their engines released plumes of scarlet light, the signature of a species that prioritized intimidation over stability. This fleet belonged to the Canther Dominion, a faction infamous for dismantling smaller civilizations. The Canther had believed the Varelli would fall silently. They had not expected interference, let alone interference from Earth. Arden watched the readings with an expression of quiet determination. There was no hint of theatrical bravado, no show of aggression, only a steady assessment. The commander issued orders, and the human formations reoriented with military precision. The Varelli, monitoring from a safe distance, were stunned. Human ships did not dance elegantly like the fleets of the artistic cultures. They moved with a heavier purpose, each shift executed with controlled force. They modeled their combat protocols on the storms and quakes of their home planet. Sudden bursts of motion followed by strategic stillness. Patterns learned from predators and from natural disasters. The Canther sent forth a transmission. It demanded surrender. It declared that the presence of humans was irrelevant. It insisted that the Varelli be handed over. Arden listened silently, then issued a brief reply. The voice was calm. It rejected every demand. It confirmed that the Varelli were under protection. It ended without elaboration. The first Canther barrage erupted. Moments later, the Varelli braced for impact, even though the volleys targeted the human lines. They watched streaks of plasma flash across the battlefield like threads of burning metal. The human fleet held its position. Shields absorbed the initial strike, their layered architecture diffusing the intensity. Where other species relied on smooth energy deflection, humans used layered kinetic dispersion, a technique developed from studying Earth's own atmospheric pressures. Return fire came in concentrated bursts. Human weapons were less graceful than Canther drills, but they delivered unyielding force. Rail projectiles accelerated along magnetic tracks, punched through shields. Plasma cutters traced searing arcs. The opening exchange established what the humans already knew. The enemy was strong, but not invincible. Arden read the telemetry with seasoned efficiency. The Canther had numerical advantage. They had larger capital ships. Their formation spread across a wider arc. This was a common pattern of the Dominion, using overwhelming presence to intimidate and fracture resistance. Arden ordered a shift. The human vessels drew closer, concentrating power in a tightened phalanx. The humans had an advantage that the Canther had never studied: adaptability. The next wave of Canther fire met reinforced shields. Human pilots, trained in maneuvers crafted originally for atmospheric dogfights on Earth, executed sharp changes in velocity. They navigated through the chaos as if born for it. Their vessels endured hits that would have crippled lighter fleets. Their counterattacks struck with methodical impact, disabling key thrusters and energy nodes on the Canther ships. The Varelli watched the battlefield transform. What began as a chaotic clash became a pattern of deliberate human control. Their fleet did not scatter. It did not retreat. It adjusted continuously. Every reaction was calculated. The humans embodied the very reason other species called them Deathworlders. They were forged by environments that demanded constant resilience. They fought like beings who had evolved in a world that never gave them a moment of safety. The Canther pushed forward, unwilling to concede. Their intent was to overwhelm. Yet the humans refused to break. Arden issued another order, and the human fleet formed a wedge. Engines flared. They surged forward with a unity that defied Canther expectations. The wedge pierced the enemy formation, separating their capital ships from the support craft. The Varelli felt their breath catch as they watched the maneuver. Humans did not attack with reckless fury. They attacked with the precision of surgeons. Their weapons targeted vulnerable joints in Canther armor. Their rail projectiles struck structural seams. Their plasma beams sliced through exposed conduits. Each hit compounded the last. The enemy formation faltered. Arden pressed the advantage. Human vessels accelerated, exploiting every gap. A Canther battleship attempted to flank, but human interceptors cut it off. Their speed, a product of Earth's demanding gravity, allowed swift changes in direction. They darted through crossfire, disabling weapon arrays and forcing the battleship into retreat. The Varelli listened to the com channels. Human voices remained calm, measured, professional. They displayed no triumph, only focus. They coordinated with seamless clarity. The Varelli marveled at how humans could maintain such composure amid destruction. Then came the decisive moment. A Canther dreadnought, largest of their vessels, lurked behind the battle lines. It prepared a planetary suppression cannon, a weapon capable of annihilating the drifting Varelli refuge ships if the humans failed to intervene. Arden detected the energy spike and recalibrated the fleet. Human vessels repositioned into a spear formation and charged. The dreadnought unleashed a massive beam, a torrent of scorching energy. Human shields strained. Warning lights flashed across their bridge interfaces. Yet they did not retreat. They advanced, engines screaming under the pressure. Their shields held, absorbing the blast in layered ripples. The Varelli witnessed a sight they would remember for generations. Humans pushing directly into a weapon built to eradicate cities. Arden waited for the exact moment the dreadnought's weapon cycle reached cooldown. Then the human fleet struck. Rail projectiles hammered the dreadnought's central spine. Plasma cutters carved through weakened armor. Interceptor craft targeted vented coup.